Someone's audio
I
is
think
on.
someone's audio is on.
Halo, saya Mika Tambayong.
Saya Krisdayanti.
Saya Kalista Iskandar.
Saya Reza Radian.
Saya Chico Jericho.
Saya Chelsea Islan.
Saya Cinta Laura Kiel.
Saya Dian Sastrowardoyo.
Saya Wulan Guritno.
Saya Julia Stel.
Saya Yoshi Sudarso.
Saya sangat semangat menyongsong Indonesia Emas
100 tahunnya merdeka pada tahun
2045 nanti.
Kita semua di Indonesia bermimpi dan menginginkan agar bisa mencapai tujuan Indonesia Emas di tahun 2045.
sungguh suatu capaian sejarah yang indah
dan luar biasa dalam perjalanan bangsa kita.
Nggak kebayang betapa hebatnya Indonesia Emas nanti.
Insya Allah pada tahun 2045 saya akan mulai mewariskan Indonesia kepada putra-putri saya.
Di usia NKRI yang 100 tahun nanti,
Saya ingin kita semua hidup dalam Indonesia yang Pancasilais,
yang modern,
Maju.
Makmur,
sejahtera,
hijau, adil, aman,
Bebas korupsi.
demokratis,
Dan tentunya bersatu.
Tujuan tersebut bukan tanpa tantangan.
Ancaman terbesar di tahun 2045 bukanlah pandemi.
Bukan lagi kemiskinan atau kebodohan.
bukan separatisme,
bukan perang nuklir.
Bukan invasi militer dari luar.
Ancaman terbesar bangsa Indonesia
Di tahun 2045 nanti,
the mother of all problems adalah
Pemanasan global.
di mana suhu bumi rata-rata akan naik
3-4 derajat Celcius.
itu adalah suhu terpanas sepanjang sejarah manusia. Suhu terpanas di bumi kita yang sudah berusia 4,5 miliar tahun.
suhu tinggi akan membuat planet bumi sakit parah.
saya tidak mau melihat Indonesia Emas dan anak-anak kita nanti
Hidup sengsara dalam bumi yang panas ini.
dengan perubahan cuaca yang ekstrim di mana-mana.
polusi merajalela dan membunuh puluhan juta orang.
Hujan deras dan banjir di mana-mana.
Gunung es di Antartika terus mencair.
Air laut akan naik setinggi 1 meter.
Sumber air dunia akan berkurang dengan sangat drastis.
Banyak pulau yang akan tenggelam.
Semakin banyak spesies punah yang disebut the sixth extinction.
Keragaman hayati akan rusak, suhu air laut yang naik, ekosistem laut yang terancam, serta terumbu karang yang banyak mati.
Penyakit semakin banyak menyebar, termasuk malaria.
Stok pangan menurun banyak dan kekeringan di mana-mana.
Banyak tanah yang akan menjadi padang pasir tandus.
Dan konflik berbasis lingkungan yang meningkat juga secara drastis.
Semua ini akibat ulah manusia.
Namun, malapetaka ini dapat juga dicegah oleh manusia.
Karena itulah, ayo kita selamatkan Indonesia dari bumi panas.
Mari kita mulai mengurangi emisi gas rumah kaca Indonesia.
Ayo kita kurangi emisi gas rumah kaca 50% di tahun 2030.
Dan kita kurangi terus sampai akhirnya kita bisa mencapai nol emisi di tahun 2050.
Ayo hijaukan ekonomi kita, jaga hutan kita.
Jaga ekosistem laut kita.
Kembangkan energi bersih dan kurangi segala emisi karbon dalam kehidupan kita.
Sehingga Indonesia Emas 2045 akan hidup dalam bumi yang nyaman, sehat, dan bahagia.
Sehingga Indonesia dapat menjadi bagian penting dalam solusi global perubahan iklim.
Planet bumi harus kita sembuhkan dari sekarang.
Target besar dan mulia ini bisa kita capai.
Ayo kita bergotong royong.
Selamatkan planet bumi.
Selamatkan umat manusia.
Selamatkan generasi kita dan generasi seterusnya.
Kita sambut Indonesia Emas yang penuh harapan.
Selamatkan Indonesia 2045.
Sadarkah Anda, kita mungkin adalah generasi terakhir yang bisa hidup dalam dunia bercuaca normal. Kita juga adalah satu-satunya generasi yang bisa menyelamatkan umat manusia dari bahaya bumi mendidih yang menanti kita selamanya di depan. Ayo kita penuhi panggilan planet bumi, panggilan umat manusia, dan panggilan sejarah. Ayo sebarkan pesan ini dan tanda tangani petisi.
Hello, greetings. Good afternoon from Jakarta, and greetings to everyone watching this live stream on YouTube. Hope everyone is doing well and is healthy. My name is Aaron, and I will be your MC for today's discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's roundtable discussion on raising ambitions for a climate-secure future. Today's talk show is brought to you by Foreign Policy Community of Indonesia, and the Foreign Policy Community of Indonesia is now the largest foreign policy group in Indonesia and Southeast Asia. We also advocate for Indonesia's climate security through the FPCI Climate Unit. This event aims to raise awareness and knowledge on climate action taken by public and private businesses, including topics revolving around emissions, reductions, net zero targets, balancing profit, planet, and people, which are crucial to creating sustainable economies and societies, especially as we approach the United Nations Climate Change Conference in a couple of days. We hope that you enjoy today's event, and we wish the panelists a fruitful and dynamic discussion. Let me now pass over the mic to our moderator, Doni Agustiadi, our Senior Advisor to FPCI and Director of PVC Indonesia. Doni, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to FPCI's Roundtable. As you already know, Indonesia, we face so many environmental challenges: air pollution, water pollution, ground sinking, deforestation, among others. If we are not careful, Jakarta by 2050 will become the Venice of Asia. It is projected that Jakarta's land up to Monas will sink and all become underwater. The good news is Pak Jokowi is committed to achieve net zero by 2060. Now comes the hard part: how to implement all of this. To discuss how corporations and government, in this case DKI Jakarta, are trying to reverse the environmental degradation, we have 5 distinguished panelists. First, we have Pak Irfan Pulungan. He's currently the Governor's Special Envoy on Climate Change. He helped pass regulation on carbon development strategy and Governor instruction on climate change impact management and DKI Jakarta Climate Mitigation Adaptation Working Group. Please welcome Pak Irfan.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Next, we have Dr. Teguh Yudo Wicaksono. He is the head of Mandiri Institute, a research institute established by Bank Mandiri. Previously, he was Revenue Policy Advisor to Prospera, Australia-Indonesia Economic Partnership, and was lecturer for University of Indonesia. Welcome, Pak Teguh.
Thank you, Pak Doni. Good afternoon, everybody.
Unfortunately, Pak Priyatno from PAM was called by DPR, and in his absence, we have Dr. Ferry Putuhana. He was coordinator capacity building in water resources in Indonesia from 1997 to the year 2000. He produced numerous studies on integrated control floods and water supply system. He is currently a lecturer at Pancasila University. Welcome, Dr. Ferry. You're still on mute, Pak.
Thank you, Doni. I'm currently in the University of Pembangunan Jaya.
Oh,
Pembangunan Jaya, yeah.
My mistake, Dr. Ferry. Next, we have Pak Adli Lubis. He is the Director for Environment and Permit Management for Vale Indonesia. He led and managed and control environmental compliance and developed sustainability project for Vale Indonesia. He was GM for reduction for clean and calcium transfer and PM for continuous improvement in Vale. Welcome, Pak Adli Lubis.
Thank you, Pak Doni. Good afternoon, all.
Unfortunately, Pak Danif is also unable to join. He will be replaced by Pak Norman Ginting, Director of Project and Operation for Pertamina Power Indonesia. He was Pertamina Power VP of IPP Gas Field and Manager for IPP for non-Java. Welcome, Pak Norman.
Good afternoon, everyone. Pak Doni, thanks, Pak Doni, for bringing us for this event. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. Let's start with the easy question first. What has your company or respective institution done to reduce climate change? Pak Adli, maybe?
So I think this is very good question, yeah, Pak Doni. In PTVI, we already implemented an idea to replace our diesel boiler. Yeah. So for the diesel boiler, as you know that we still consuming the HSFO, but since 2019 we replaced our boiler with the electric boiler. So this is very good for us. So we can mitigate the fuel consumption in our plant. And in the other hand, we have an idea to conduct the reclamation activity for our forest mine area. So this is very good for us to keep maintain our environmental condition in the future.
Okay. Pak Norman?
Yeah, thank you, Pak Doni. I think one of that our concrete commitment in Pertamina actually starting from the last year, Pertamina is already set up new and renewable energy subholding. Yeah. So this is something like a highly commitment from Pertamina to implement new and renewable energy as part of to reduce climate change. I think we have that a lot of initiative basically supporting achieving some relevant of the part of the Sustainable Development Goals and part of the Paris Agreement 2016. What we can explain the initiative is including that we have today geothermal power plant running with the capacity 670 megawatt. That's we want to expand to 1.5 gigawatt in 2026. We also consider hydrogen development with potential 1,600 kilogram per day. Now we are also participating in IBC with production capacity 140 gigawatt hour in 2029. We want also to establish a methanol plant for gasification with capacity 1,000 kiloton per annum and on stream in 2025. And green refinery also with capacity 100 kiloton per annum in 2021 in our refinery in Cilacap in Pelaju. We are also developing bioenergy development like in biomass, bio blending gas oil and gasoline, and biocrude. We also implement a circular carbon economy, and the last, we actually in the phase of development of the renew and renewable energy like DME with the capacity 5,200 kiloton per annum, solar photovoltaic 920 megawatt, that's our target, and biomass 225 megawatt, and hydro with the capacity 400 megawatt. I think that's all the our initiative as part of the to reduce climate change as part of the achieving sustainable development goals.
Okay, Pak Yudo.
Yeah, thank you, Pak Doni. I think before I discuss about what Bank Mandiri does in regard to contribute to emission reduction, I think it's a good idea to give some big picture about the source, the largest source of emission, and then probably it will be connected to our strategies in helping to mitigate the impact of emissions. So if you look at on the current data from Ministry of Environment and Forestry in 2019, I think the data show that more than 50% of the largest source of emission is coming from the land activities. So basically like cropland, from non-cropland to cropland deforestation, and also peat deforestation also contribute about 50%. And then the next one is energy sector, electricity, and then transportation. So again, I think it's really important forum today that we have one representative from energy sector and one from DKI government, because related to transportation. Now, if we look at on this, the contributor of these emissions, then the strategy I think should be connected to that. So let's say if we address problems in land use activities, then we address almost 50% of emission. And then if we address energy sector moving transition from fossil based energy to renewable energy, then we will add up like another 20%. So almost 70%. We can we can mitigate the impact of the climate change. Now, if we look at on the financial sector, I think what we does is in line with the regulators and also the trend in the industry. I mean, like investors, more and more investors are now concerned about like sustainability, and also OJK itself I think laid out some like 2 roadmaps about the sustainable finance and sustainability, and we follow that strategy. Now move to the context, back to your questions, Pak Doni. I think we are committed to contribute in reducing the emissions, and for instance like in accordance to this OJK regulations about sustainable finance, we are not required to manage activities related to the loan portfolio, particularly in 5 sectors. So for instance, like CPO, again, if you look at on the back, peatland deforestation, CPO is also another area that we really focus on, and then energy, construction, and also mining. So that's sectors that we really look into, particularly about the portfolio, loan portfolio. And also on the sustainable products, we also launched sustainability bonds this year, and it's oversubscribed. The value is around 300 billion, if I'm not 300 USD million, US dollar million. So that's really I think the first sustainability bond in this year. So I think that's some areas that we work on, contribute to reduce emissions.
Okay, thank you, Pak Irfan. What has DKI Jakarta do for climate change?
Thank you, Pak Doni. As we know that Jakarta is the province, it's a provincial regulation institution. So what we've done is developing a development strategy that called climate resilience, low carbon development, which is regulating transition to non-fossil based energy source like electricity bus for our fleet, like our bus rapid system. But we also have the incentive and tax holiday because we have the regulation, and we in this specific regulation that we are regulate incentive and tax holiday for business sector that already integrate sustainable business cycle to their business cycle model. So what we've done here is regulating and provide guidelines for all stakeholders, including the business sector, to have sustainable principle that incorporated in their principle and business cycle. And we are creating tax holiday and incentive as economic mechanism to support transition to sustainable development and mitigation and adaptation to climate change. Thank you very much.
Okay, Pak Ferry, maybe since you're a lecturer, maybe you can tell us what kind of technology or development that you see out there that helps with water conservation in the world, Pak.
Yes, it's not really that, Pak Doni, because we are Universitas Pembangunan Jaya is part of Pembangunan Jaya Group. So actually, our activity is to do for sustainable urban development. You know that we Pembangunan Jaya built a private city. Now, private city is not only in Jakarta, but it's the whole big cities in the world, the private city, and then it's easy to within the private city to build the entire sustainable urban development. But how we expand this, how we make as an example for others, and then we have research for this. You know, we work together with the University of Dresden in Germany, and then we make a research of how to make this private city more inclusive. So we hope that our experience with this sustainable urban development can be spread out to the other cities.
Okay, okay, Pak. Let me take one step back because before we dig deeper into reducing climate changes. Let's discuss the philosophical question first. Do you always see that there is a fight between profit versus sustainability? Do we foresee that as it will be at some point on the same side of the coin? Will it always be on different side of the coin? Maybe Pak Norman and Pak Adli can jump in, Pak, before we go to Pak Yudo, Pak Irfan, and Pak Ferry.
Thanks, Pak Doni. Of course, that we believe that growth and sustainability work complementary. I think we have seen how climate change impact on the industry, social and government issues are also potentially give impacts. So that's something like why corporations should put sustainability as part of the strategic goals. Pertamina has been integrating ESG aspect, environment, social and government into this business. So I think that's we believe that between growth, both growth and sustainability is that can work complementary.
Okay, Pak Adli.
Yeah, I think that like Pak Norman said before, that between the sustainability and the cost that we need to invest for our sustainability goals, I think this is not the different side here. This is same side, because for the mining company like us, we need to think about how to maintain our environmental condition. And part of our strategy, we have to develop the environmental goals that we need to achieve on the future, because our stakeholder is not only the community, but we have to ensure that the environmental condition will be support the community condition, especially close to our mine area, Pak Doni. If I can see that, that's correct, that if to implement the growth project, including the sustainability project, it will take more cost, yeah. But it will give us more benefit on the future if we can implement the board strategy together, and we have to ensure we are on the right track to manage the idea to ensure that the Valley can achieve our goals, yeah, to reduce our carbon emission. Our target is only 33%, Pak Doni. As you know, that PT Valley already implemented hydropower plant to support our energy consumption for the nickel processing in our plant. So this is very helpful for us to manage our carbon emission. And in the other hand, we already developed some strategy to ensure we can reduce our energy consumption regarding the fuel fossil consumption, because this gives significant impact for our carbon emission reduction in the future. And I will explain more detail maybe on the next question. Yeah, thanks, Pak Doni.
Okay, Pak Yudo, Pak Irfan, and Pak Ferry, welcome your answer, Pak.
Yeah, I think it's the same side of a coin, Yanis. Sorry, you can hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
the same. So. And you know, back again, your about water. So there's we do it more to the what do you call it, adaptation to the climate change. So we make the knowledge of this implicitly in this student. So not only the adaptation, of course, also the mitigation, yeah. As so that's like the two side, the same side of the coin, yeah, between the business and also in the what you call it, the sustainable, how to achieve the sustainable goals.
Okay, Pak Yudo, what's bankers' view on profit versus sustainability?
Yeah, I think the landscape has changed now, Pak Doni. If we look at on the current years, yeah, or the current trend in the past few years, I think more and more investors are now concerned about sustainability. If we heard about BlackRock, you know, the chair of BlackRock, they say, okay, we have to move to renewable energy. Then it really triggers significant waves to, you know, to industry players, particularly in the financial sector. And also, if we look at on, you know, the sector itself, so basically, you know, the players in the financial sector now are, you know, rearrange again their, you know, their investment portfolio, including banks. Also, they rearrange loans as well. And also, if you look at on the sectors itself, I mean, like, for instance, I pick like a CPO, for instance. Now, if you look at CPO, no, firms that invest their time or their investment into sustainable palm oil, now they get the price, they get the incentive because they can generate more profit from that, because they can export to the EU market. So I think this really changed the way we view about sustainability and profit. I think that's exactly as previous panelists mentioned, that's exactly on the, you know, on the same side of the coin, basically, because sustainable means also profit. But I think in some areas, I guess, from the perspective of bank, also there is some risk related to, for instance, renewable energy. I mean, the issue probably not really on, you know, whether the project is profitable or not, but probably this is more technical. Probably friends here know better. The thing is, the source, the electricity source from renewable energy is not really reliable to the fuel, the carbon based, you know, energy. So that's really the biggest, you know, challenge to create kind of the technology to achieve, to go to that direction. So I think that's homework for all of us to work more to get the price right. I think that's from our side, Pak Doni.
Okay, Pak Irfan, what's the view from DKI?
Yeah. Well, from our perspective, the economy and the environment shall not be treated as two different poles that opposing each other. But I'm not really keen to say that it is same of a different coin also, because I think I agree with Pak Yudo said before that when we starting our business, we shall consider that sustainability is profitable. That will be the my take on that. So sustainability is profitable. Not sustainable, it will not profit. It will be disaster. And there is a transition also, like Pak Yudo said before. The service authority, financial service authority, has the regulation number 51 2017 on implementation of sustainability finance and for financial services. So the state-owned enterprise like Mandiri need to develop their sustainability report every year, that they can not just reporting but also give information to the public that their business cycle is really sustainable, and they are not supporting like brown business cycle out there. So I think we are in the transition period right now where we would like to have sustainability as the principle and as the core value of business cycle in Indonesia, so we can push transition from the conventional business sector into more sustainable, more sustainability, and also we can create new business institution that like have sustainability as their businesses, like what we call a startup on renewable energy or something like that. So as provincial regulation institution, we would like to incubate and give support from the economic and financial mechanism that we can provide to support this transition into sustainability in business sector.
Okay, I will get back to you on the startup point, but I want to double click on what Pak Yudo earlier, especially with regards to risk of the technology risk in pivoting from non-renewable to renewable. Pak Norman and Pak Adli, how do you de-risk or reduce the risk of failure, of technological failure, of from pivoting to non-renewable to renewable?
So,
Yeah, I think.
Please.
Go ahead, Pak Norman.
Silakan Pak, lanjut Pak.
Yes. Maybe Pak Norman first or
Pak Adli, go ahead, Pak.
Okay. Silakan Pak.
Yeah, so actually this technology is for our smelting process, is new technology, Pak Doni. But to ensure we are not failure to implement the strategy how to reduce the carbon emission, we need to conduct more detailed study. Because in Valley Valley, Indonesia, we developed like a VAL 1, VAL 2, and VAL 3 study to ensure we are mature enough before we implementing the strategic initiative in our current process. But before we implement this idea, we have to conduct like a pilot test. Because as you know that in the nickel smelting plant, there is no smelting plant in Indonesia already use like clean energy. What we call it clean energy, maybe gas for our combustion process. So it means that before we implemented the gas for our combustion process, we have to do more comprehensive assessment, not only desktop study, but we have to do like a pilot test. After we conducted the pilot test, we will gathering more information that make us more confident before we conduct like a live test trial in our equipment. Because this is very rare technology, and we need more data to ensure this is suitable enough for our current process, Pak Doni. So this step is must be assessed by the competent person to ensure we are on the right track before we implemented the new technology to reduce the carbon emission in the future. That's my point of view, Pak Doni.
Okay, Pak Norman.
So thanks, Pak Doni. What we did so far related with technology, actually we want to do more to implement more in the renewable energy sector, in especially our backyard in Pertamina facility. Actually, we already start implement like solar PV for our power plant usage, but now is that mostly is used for the non-essential. But in the one of that, our LNG plant in Bontang, for example, we already implemented the solar PV as part of to provide power supply for our refinery. So this is something is already touched directly to the core system of the electric system in our facility. So in the bigger size of that. In our Pertamina facility, actually we want to implement more without something like interrupting of our production capacity. We want to how we can manage the issue of the intermittent issue of the in the solar PV to be connected to our electric system. So that's something like we did. We work together with the partner. We work together also with the reputable technology provider, and of course that we need to do more assessment and feasibility study on the technology side, where we can implement renewable energy, especially in the solar PV, in the larger scale of in the Pertamina business unit.
Okay, Pak Yudo, you mentioned risk just now. How do you measure risk between two competing loans? Say, for example, one is highly profitable, non-renewable project, and the other one is 50-50, let's say 50-50 chance of success for a renewable project. Which one will Bank Mandiri choose if you are given those kind of scenario?
Yeah, I think the exact metric. I think I'm not really sure how friends from the business unit to calculate that, such risk. But I think related with one risk related to renewable energy is the stages of development. There is like the early stage and then the expansion and so on and so forth. And different stages has different risk. So that's probably the reason why we will get into more detail about to assess such risk, to enter which stage that we are going to. And then this is also the challenges to enter into renewable energy. So for instance, like in the early stage, probably very few investors that are willing to enter because the development is not clear, and then the profitability path is not there. So I think this is also this calls for support basically for the government, for instance, to provide kind of the guarantee scheme. So investors might be willing to enter to the development stages of these renewable energy or renewable plans. So something like that. So for the exact measures, I'm not sure how to calculate that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pak Irfan, now that we are mentioning, Pak Yudo mentioned government support, Pak. What kind of support DKI Jakarta can give to businesses so they can pivot from non-renewable to renewable, Pak? Is there any special holiday tax incentives that DKI can give for project for a renewable project throughout Jakarta, Pak?
Yes. As I mentioned before, that we just regulate provincial regulation called climate resilience low carbon development strategy, where we are have action plan and strategy in terms of mitigating climate change, such as electric bus and solar PV, something like that. And then in that regulation, we specifically designated incentive for electric bus, for example, that they don't need to pay tax for if they buy new vehicle, things like that. And for example, we are now in discussion with Bank BNI. Forgive me for that, Pak Yudo from Mandiri. I need to specify that we are in discussion with them to have like credit mechanism for Jakarta citizen if they want to installing solar PV. So Governor of Jakarta could give like recommendation to get the credit. So I think if Bank Mandiri also interested in that, I think we can collaborate. So Jakarta have like 280 pro-climate village that we can install solar PV. So we invited financial service organization and also business sector that wants to collaborate on that specific issue. We can give tax holiday and incentive if we can install solar PV in that area. And the other thing is Jakarta have a collaboration platform called large scale collaboration platform that we can collaborate with business sector in terms of sustainability project, and we can provide an incentive or economic mechanism that we can agree upon on the MOU, so we can have push pilot project or project in Jakarta in terms of sustainability project with business sector.
Okay, Pak Ferry, just curious, Pak, what kind of incentive that needed for people in Jakarta to stop using groundwater, Pak? Or is there a substitute that people in Jakarta can, so that they stop using groundwater?
Oh, it's difficult, yeah. People that use the groundwater is already have the comfort. It's easy. Just put your pump there, and then you have the water. So it would be very difficult, or how we would like to make them willing to change from that groundwater extraction to the surface water. And then that means we have to supply the surface water easily. So it can be like cheaper or more easier for them to get the surface water rather than groundwater. So we know that Pamjaya should be the main actor for bringing the water to the peoples there, that for the whole city, provide the water. But of course, they have to work together also with those who from the private sector who want to supply water. So both together, the private and the government can supply water. It's more comparable with the groundwater. So that means that those who already have the comfort of taking the water from groundwater, willing to change it to the supply system from the city, for example. That's
Okay.
Doni.
Pak Doni, can I add?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so just to update everyone on this, how we can push Jakarta citizen to not using groundwater. So this is very fresh from the oven. So Jakarta has regulated gubernatorial regulation number 51 and 57 2021 that regulates surface water subsidized. This specific regulation regulates surface water subsidies that we will subsidize citizen that wants to use a pipe water services. So we are now in the process to implement it so people can really apply for the subsidies. So Jakarta will be providing, like, if I'm not mistaken, 18 billion rupiah to subsidize Jakarta people to use surface water system. Thank you.
Okay, Pak Ferry and Pak Irfan, I want to dig deeper on this. realistically, there are about 20 million living throughout through the Jakarta and the surrounding satellite city. Out of the 20 million, how many millions can pump support their water needs? Is it realistic for pump to give 100% water for everyone that lives in Jakarta and the surrounding city?
Oh, yeah. Then you have to talk about the what you call raw water. Raw water. So before go to the clean water and the raw water. The raw water from Jakarta came from surrounding river basin, like from Jatiluhur and then from the Banten. So then you know we have our dry season and our wet season, and for this we need reservoir. So many reservoir that able to supply the water, the raw water to this treatment plant belong to the Pamjaya. And of course, if there is a city that would like to have their own, I mean private city, have their own treatment plant also, then first of all, the raw water should be there.
Okay.
So I think that's when we have to transmit also the water from far away to go to Jakarta. But of course, it's not the population is not centralized in Jakarta. So we have now the satellite cities, and within satellite cities, of course, there is a treatment plant. There's a maybe private also that treat the water for the domestic water, for the industrial water. And then the other thing is we have to talk about the demand management. So far we only talk about supplying what everybody needs, but how about reducing the need, so the demand, and then we have to talk about other source also, the rainwater and recycle, reuse, that kind of thing.
Okay, Pak Irfan?
Yeah, I don't really know about the surrounding areas, but for Jakarta government, we are pushing our Pamjaya. It's unfortunate that director of Pamjaya cannot be here, but we are pushing them to can provide 100% of services. Up till now is around 65%. So lots of initiative and action that we done to put up it to increase the services in this few years. The second things that I want to mention is like Pak Ferry said, and like Pak Doni said, there are 21 million citizens surrounding Jakarta. So I think it will be we will need a multi-level governance in government structure to solve this problem of water issue and water supply. So we need a comprehensive structure that Jakarta, West Java, Banten could have multi-level governance structure that can collaborate to support the supply, the water supply, and also to creating collaboration between all the government entity to provide water system, and also business to business corporation between PDAM Jakarta, West Java, and Banten, not just to meet the supply, but also creating collaboration that that could not just meet the demand, but also creating alternative water source like from rivers of osmosis or something.
Okay, thank you. Now back to Pak Norman and Pak Adli. Pak Norman and Pak Adli, I'm just curious, Pak. In your experience, how long does it take to? How long is the break-even point for a renewable project, Pak? In terms of years, Pak.
Related with this is related with the economics of the project, Pak.
Yeah.
Of course, that we believe for the economics of the species, of course, it depend on the scale of the project and depend also what is the type of the customer. I mean, that's if then we want to compare, for example, if we can compare directly renewable energy tariff is coming from the solar PV, if compared with the diesel power plant, actually that's quite very competitive for the renewable powers coming from the solar PV, which is we believe we can get around less than 10 years basically for the break-even payback period. Yeah.
Okay.
But if then we are something like need to compete with that tariff from the PLN, especially for the high voltage of the PLN, it is something like should be a little bit higher than 10 years.
Okay. Pak Adli?
Yeah, so from my side, yeah, based on our experience, Pak Doni, like I mentioned before, we already implemented electric boiler to support our current process. But fortunately, in PT Valley, we already implemented hydropower plant. So it means that the power is free for us. So when we change our diesel boiler to the electric boiler, so the break-even point, I think that less than 1 year, yeah, because we can save our fuel consumption after we implemented the electric boiler in our plant. But if we compare to this big scale of the project, because currently we still developing a field study how to implement the solar PV to support our power requirement for the nickel smelting plant in Sorowako. So currently we require around 50 until 60 megawatt. To accommodate the 50 until 60 megawatt, we need large area, yeah, because 1 megawatt is required around 1 hectares area to accommodate the solar PV technology. But for the investment cost, this is around 80 until 100 million US dollars. This is very huge amount of money. Yeah. So like Pak Yudo mentioned before, that I think that the company like us need more support, yeah, from the bank to give us maybe easy loan, yeah, with the easy what we call it, yeah, easy credit, yeah, what everything that can support us to implement our strategy immediately. But when we calculate the break-even point to implement the solar PV technology, I think that it takes around 8 until 10 years, yeah. So this is very important for us to ensure we are still profit company when we implement the renewable energy for our current process. That is one example from PTVI, Pak Doni.
Okay, so I guess if from the two example you have given me, it's about 8 to 10 years for the break-even point. Now, Pak Yudo, I want to follow up this question, Pak Yudo. What is the role of bank and capital market in helping company pivot to become more climate healthier than before?
Climate friendly, yeah.
Yes, climate friendly.
Climate friendly, yes. I think financial institution play a critical role in this case, exactly what Pak Adli mentioned, because we allocate resources, economic resources, money, and then also if we look at on the current trend, like for instance, like investors actually are now pushing banks to allocate more into the renewable energy source. But I think one major issue is probably we need more kind of comprehensive framework that, you know, connecting between these financial sectors and also on the technical sectors, for instance, RD sectors, energy sectors, and so on and so forth. Now, it seems to me like the policy are scattered. So basically, if we think of these two streams, policy side and also the financial side, then I think we need to, you know, there are many homework on the policy sides. For instance, like probably we need solid or robust renewable energy policies that are not only laid out about the targets, but also reasonable, you know, reasonable target to achieve that side. Another one is also more on the bureaucratic process and also the legal aspects. I think that's it matters a lot because it creates certainty for investors to invest in this renewable energy. And also, again, subsidy and tariff reforms, and also strengthening the investors' familiarity with renewable energy in Indonesia, because again, we have different contexts, different institutions with other countries. Probably foreign investors, they have some risk appetite to invest in renewable energy in Indonesia, but they don't know. And then, you know, sometimes we do not do kind of good job to convince foreign investors that Indonesia is attractive for renewable energy. I think that's some homework on the policy side. Meanwhile, on the financing side, I think you know, the issue on the way to de-risking financial instrument, I think it's also important here. For instance, like probably we need a kind of a body that can guarantee provision for renewable energy projects in the development stage, so it can minimize risk for investors. And also another possibility is, for instance, like performance-based lending. So basically lending that target into, you know, projects, and then how these projects achieve green definitions. And also asset securitization. This is kind of, you know, not really well developed in Indonesia because, you know, like financial depending Indonesia is still shallow. So I think that's another homework. Another area I think that we already go into that direction is green bonds, particularly for infrastructure like PT SME. Now they issued some green bonds and sustainability bonds on the green projects. And another one is seed capital. I think those are really important on the financial sectors. And again, we need kind of the coherent regulations that also cover all of, you know, not only the financial institutions, but also on the players, industry players, on the technical, you know, sectors. I think that's my view, Pak Doni.
Thank you, Pak. Okay, my last question to all the panelists. We've seen the difficulty in China and in UK in pivoting from non-renewable energy to renewable energy. What kind of advice would you give to Indonesia's central government on how to pivot from non-renewable to renewable, so it's smoother than compared to China and UK? Starting with Pak Norman, Pak.
Yeah, thanks, Pak Doni. I think that's what we call the situation in the UK and China, yeah, where the energy price there, it is so high now. Yeah. I think because of that, the problem with that supply of the oil, and also the high price of coal also give them impact also for the electricity tariff in those countries. Yeah. I think this is something like good timing. This is something like timing for Indonesia to do more, to speed up more on the renewable energy sector. We have of course, the abundance of the resources for the renewable energy sector, like geothermal, hydro, solar PV, hydrogen. I think a lot of resource that we have here. I think we know that we have also with the plenty area land that can be utilized to be built for the solar PV, for the big size of the solar PV ground mounted, for example. where we know now that's in the Middle East they can produce around 2-3 cents per kilowatt hour, even cheaper now. And I think with that abundant resource that we have, I think this is the time for us to do more for the renewable energy sector. And this is something like, of course, that renewable energy is that we have abundant resources and also quite competitive. And of course, I mean that's something like we can something like not depend to the fossil fuel in the future.
Oke, Pak Ferry, Pak.
Yeah, Pak Doni, I would like to talk about the transmission line. You know, I have 13 years in Malaysia, in Sarawak. You know, Sarawak have the potential hydropower, and then they built dams to bring it to Semenanjung.
Oh.
The transmission is have to go to the seawater, through the seawater. So they built the backbone there, the dam, but now they have difficulties in transmitting that to Malaysia, to Semenanjung. So then they're now talking about selling the hydropower to Indonesia, to Sabah, and then also if we have the transmission line, for example, from Sarawak to West Kalimantan, and then through the island, we can go to Sumatra and then go up to Asia, something like so, and also connect with the system in transmission line. So if we have a good transmission line down to the villages, then this renewable energy would be attractive. And so this should be both go hand in hand between the hydropower and the transmission. So to think about that, Tony.
Okay, thank you, Pak. Pak Irfan, Pak.
Pak Doni. We have abundant renewable energy, non-renewable energy resources that we already utilized from 1970, if not mistaken. But in other hand, we also have renewable energy, massive renewable energy that we not yet effectively utilize. So I think we need to develop a set of regulation that push the transformation from non-renewable to renewable energy, but we need to be careful to not switching in 360 in very short time. So we need to develop our renewable energy structure first and make it sure that we already have it in place to support all of our region. So we can shifting in like moderate way to from the non-renewable. But I think we need to really consider and develop our non-renewable energy structure and infrastructure so we can, push direction there, and we can save our renewable energy as our last resort if something happen.
Okay, thank you. Pak Adli?
Yeah, so I think that the situation in UK and Chinese is like a wake-up call for us. This is warning call for us. So the non-renewable energy, there is a limitation. So it means that we have to move on. As you know that the government contribution is very, very important for us, especially for the mining company or the energy company. As you know, Pak Doni, currently government still trying to develop the carbon tax regulation. So I think this is very good for us. But if we compare the carbon tax regulation with the growth country in Europe, this is totally different. Our carbon tax regulation is very cheap compared to other countries. So currently our carbon tax regulation around maybe $2 until $5 per ton CO2 equivalent. But if we compare to other growth countries in Europe, the carbon tax regulation is within $35 until $100 per ton. this is totally a significant difference between the growth country with the Indonesian. But this is good start for us, because sometimes the companies still only put the roadmap in the paper and only conduct the study without real implementation. So when we implement the carbon tax regulation, I think that this is good, to push and speed up all the initiative to ensure we can implement this initiative immediately to accommodate our carbon emission reduction goals, not only for each company, but this is to support the Indonesian agenda regarding the net zero emission. But the government is not only thinking how to put the new regulation regarding the carbon tax, but we have to think how to implement the tax incentive, like Pak Irfan mentioned before. I think this is very good, to give more extra motivation, give extra spirit for the company to speed up their study, to speed up their implementation, to implement the renewable energy for his current process. Because in PTVI, we are still conducting study in the field to study regarding our fuel shifting. We have a strategy to replace our fossil fuel with the gas, because gas is more clean compared to our fossil fuel. To implement this idea, we need more costs. We need huge investment costs, and we have a strategy to start the construction maybe beyond 2025. So to ensure we are confident enough, we have to do the more comprehensive assessment, because this is not a small project. This is big project, but we have to ensure we are still profit when we implement this initiative for our current smelting process in PTVI, Pak Doni. So the carbon tax and the tax incentive is very good for us to speed up the implementation of the low carbon emission program for each company. That's my point of view, Pak Doni.
Okay, Pak Yudo.
Thank you. I think the energy crisis in European Union and China gives us so many lessons for us, particularly when we think of the transition to renewable energy. I think the lesson first from the UK and also the European Union is we need to be careful when we set up our targets. I mean, it doesn't mean that we do not want to achieve such target, but again, transition will cost, and the cost will be significant, particularly for social economic costs, particularly for people, and also for instance, like areas, regions, provinces that export a lot of commodities like coal and other things. So we need to be more considerate, I think, about this transition energy path. And I agree completely with Pak Irfan. Probably in the framework of the policies, the fiscal policies, how we pay these who lost from this transition, particularly for smaller businesses, and also for particularly poor people. That's because they will be hardest hit because of this transition. I think that's my view, Pak Doni.
Okay. Now we are coming to the Q&A session. We have a question speaking about costs. There is one question to Pak Irfan. Pak Irfan, the question is, how is Jakarta getting their funds to fight climate change? And how is the progress in Jakarta now?
Okay, Pak Doni, how we get funds? So we are government. We have allocated fundings of mitigation and adaptation action in our 5 years budget. So we allocated every year so we can have execute our global commitment to reducing 30% of emission in 2030. On the other hand, we also collaborate with donor organization and international financial institution like C40 or WRI, where Pak Dino is the one of the board chairman. So we have funding on specific project like mitigation. On the other hand, we also develop mitigation and adaptation working group, which is includes state-owned enterprise and provincial enterprise that allocating funding through their financial support to the government and citizen of Jakarta for mitigation and adaptation. So lots of financial scheme that we have right now in Jakarta. Not to mention the national government also have Indonesian Climate Change Trust Fund who help lots of provincial government to execute mitigation and adaptation action. We also can like applying funding from green GCF, green climate fundings from global institution and like that. So I think there are official funding that we are committed on our 5 years budget, and we also creating financial support from stakeholder to combat these climate change issues.
Okay. Next question is from Pak Wisnu from Standard Chartered Bank to Pak Yudo. What is the impact of sustainable financing to your fossil fuel creditors like coal mining?
I think for the coal miner, I think I need to double check to friends from the business unit, but I think our loan portfolio is now getting smaller on these coal producers. And then we also discussed with our debtor in the coal mining, but that given that we are going, I mean, the government itself said already transition energy to reduce coal. So basically, we told them that we need to prepare, this transition as well. So I think that's what we do right now. But again, the current situation with rising coal prices and also like the government policies, I think we need a clearer signal from the government about this transition, from non-renewable to renewable energy, and because it really have serious impact on the coal miners. So I think that's from our side.
Okay, thank you, Pak Yudo. There is one question to Pak Irfan. What is the likelihood for Jakarta using alternative water source like renewable water as a substitute for clean water? In Singapore, they are using 20% renewable water for their supply, Pak.
Yeah, so what we have now is water osmosis in 10 out of 100 island in 100 island in the coastal area. So we use that, but in the meantime, I think like use water, it will be we need lots of research and socialization on that, because our culture is a little bit different from Singapore. I think there are cultural barriers that people in Jakarta have lots of consideration to use that kind of technology. But I think what we have now, if I'm not mistaken, is research and socialization and getting inputs from the citizen whether this kind of alternative solution could be implemented in Jakarta, because we cannot directly use that option if we doesn't have any input from the citizen of Jakarta.
Okay. Next question, I guess this is more for Pak Adli and Pak Norman. Is there any connection between renewable energy and greenflation effects? So I guess the greenflation means, greenflation means rising price for metals and minerals such as copper, aluminum, and lithium that are essential to solar and wind power electric. So I guess the question is, because of this, the use of minerals such as copper, aluminum, and lithium, it will increase the price of energy using non-renewable. Pak Adli and Pak Norman?
Yes. Yeah, I think this is very good question, yeah, Pak Doni. Yeah. If we, yeah, as you know that when we implement the renewable energy, one of our nickel is take what we call it the critical path, yeah, because one example is regarding the implementation of the electrification equipment, Pak Doni. So when we implement the electrification equipment, this is not only related to the electric bus or electric vehicle, because in the mine area, we have so many heavy equipment. So when we implement the electric truck, the electrification for our heavy equipment, it means that we need more battery. When we try to produce more battery, it means that we need more nickel. So it means that when the demand of the material or mineral is increased, it will impact to the increasing of the prices.
Yeah.
So the global market must be considered about it, because when not only Indonesia, but the United Nations, the PBB already tried to push all countries in the world to implement the renewable energy to support their climate change strategy, to ensure we can achieve like a carbon neutral or net zero emission in 2050. But there is a price that we need to consider about it, because when the demand of the mineral is increased significantly, it means that our quantities is almost same right now, because there is no new mining company, especially in Indonesia, to produce the more nickel, because our smelting plant is almost same. They only try to export the ore, but this is not good for our country. So I think that we have there is big correlation between the greenflation with the renewable energy, and we have to prepare about it. And I think that the government take the critical what we call it the critical situation to ensure there is no impact to our mining company in Indonesia regarding the greenflation issue.
Okay, Pak Norman.
I think that question is mostly related with that mining company by Pak Doni. I think for us, especially that, of course, that at the end, when we want to implement new and renewable energy, especially, for example, like solar PV plus battery energy solution, of course, that we expect that the increasing price of the metal, lithium, and so on, that's something like, of course, that will impact also to the price of the capex of the battery and so on. So of course that's make the projects at the end, it will not something like more competitive compared with that energy coming from the fossil fuel, for example, especially from the coal fire. So of course that we expect we know that this kind of the situation actually that renewable is that yearly by year is something like more competitive now. And we expect also, of course, in the 1 or 2 years, I think we believe that renewable energies will be more competitive than fossil fuel. So that makes that people or then government of that industry that will something like trigger more to participate more in the renewable energy sector. Okay. Thanks, Pak Doni.
Last question is for Pak Irfan. Pak Irfan, there is a question here. How is Jakarta fighting the increasing sea level?
Okay. very nice question. So, Jakarta committed to structure what we call it coastal line wall. It's like 22 kilometers, so we can minimize the seawater intrusion from the sea. But what most important of this action is we need to stop the land subsidence. So how we do it? We push the water extraction. That's why we regulate gubernatorial regulation number 52 and 57 that we provide water service subsidies to make people use to stop people use groundwater. Secondly is we are regulating like so lots of high rise level in Jakarta have like ghost water groundwater extraction center. So we push like law enforcement on that. So we really take a look of this kind of valuation, so we can stop the groundwater extraction, so to stop the land subsidence. So there is two action that we take: develop coastal line wall, and also creating alternative, creating comprehensive effort to stop land subsidence from groundwater extraction.
Okay. Pak Ferry, maybe you can comment on that last question, Pak. How to lower, how Jakarta should fight the rising sea level, Pak? Pak Ferry?
Yes, it's already mentioned by the Irfan about the Great Seawall. Yeah, so that's like a decision that we call it a no regret decision. You have to make it, even it's expensive or it's very challenging. That's yeah, for the Great Seawall, yeah, Great Seawall, and the Teluk Jakarta, and then also talking about what we talked before about the water quality at the Teluk Jakarta. So with that Great Seawall, then maybe we can manage the water quality more easily. So it's a promising. Of course, it's a what do you call it? When we fight climate change, then such a decision is yeah, we have to take, yeah, even it is so difficult or so things like that, Pak Doni.
Okay, thank you. That's the end of our Q&A session. I would pass it back to Aaron.
Thank you, Pak Doni. So I would like to encourage everyone to give their virtual reaction to all the panelists and to those who are watching from YouTube. Yes, thank you. So thank you everyone for your active participation through the discussion. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we end the discussion, I have exciting news for everyone who are here today. FPCI will again convene the Global Town Hall on Saturday, 20th November 2021. Just like last year, it will be a 15-hour marathon discussion by leading minds and global citizens about the state of the world. We're inviting world leaders and prominent speakers from around the world. It is the Main Street online version of Davos. Please watch this short video of Global Town Hall 2021.
Welcome to Global Town Hall 2021. Register now at www.gth2021.com. See you.
Wow, exciting, isn't it? So go get yourself registered soon at gth2021.com. Please follow us on Instagram and Twitter at FPCI Indo and stay updated. Lastly, on behalf of the committee, we would thank you and wish everyone to stay healthy. See you again at our future events and have a pleasant day.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for all the panelists. Great job.
Thank you, Pak Doni.
Thank you, everyone.
Aaron.
Thank you, Pak Doni. Pak Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron, also.
Thank you.
Thank you.